are the Ohio State Buckeyes in the college football playoff. Well, last night got a little bit of help. Utah taking USC to the woodshed for the second time this season. USC's out of it, all right? It's their second loss. They're done. The conversation now shifts to, do you take Ohio State if you're the committee, or do you take Alabama? Let's break this down just a little bit and give you my thoughts at the end of this whole deal. For Ohio State and Alabama, Bama has 2 losses. Okay, and that is a pretty big deal. As a 2-loss team has never made the college football playoff. You take a closer look, you say, okay, well, they lost on the road to 2 teams that were hot at the time in Tennessee on the last play, LSU on the last play. I believe it's by like a combined total of something crazy of like 4 points is what they ended up losing by to both teams combined. So if you want to talk about losses and the fashion in which to lose, Alabama has a pretty strong case in the moment that those games ended. Now, you look at the way those losses have aged, depending how the committee feels, they haven't been spectacular, okay? Aged like fine milk. LSU got absolutely bludgeoned by Texas A&M. Tennessee, same deal, get blown out by South Carolina. So those losses are continuing to trend downward. Look at Ohio State, and your one loss is to the number 3 team in the country at the time. Granted, it was at home. Granted, it was one-sided. It was a blowout. But still, to have your only loss be the last week of the season and to a team like Michigan, who making a pretty strong case, being one of the top teams in the country, as much as you hate to hear that as an Ohio State fan, just sort of the world we're living in. So I think the 2 losses and the way those losses have aged will actually, again, favor Ohio State. The one-loss thing is crucial, and there's been anarchy across the rest of the college football landscape that allow them to be in this position. They were at 5 last week in the college football playoff rankings. I think you got to feel pretty good if you're a Buckeye fan after last night and what happened to USC. Really quickly, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we have college football content coming for you every single day on the On3 YouTube channel, on the Hard Count. Also follow me in the social channels. At Judy Piquel on Twitter and on Instagram. A lot of stuff we do there that we incorporate into this program. Don't want you to miss a minute of it. Here's the other thing I'm looking at when I'm talking about Ohio State and how the committee potentially perceives them. The committee, for whatever reason, has continued to like Ohio State, whether it's the eye test, whether it's what the offense has done statistically. They have consistently had them at that number 2 spot. And there was a lot of people in Ann Arbor saying, well, Michigan being at 3, they should be ahead of Ohio State, whatever. We knew they were going to play at the end of the year. But the committee has continued to like, and I hate using that word, but it seems like Ohio State, even having them only drop to 5. And I understand there's something to do with the resume in there, strength of schedule, but Ohio State and Michigan for the majority of the year were kind of the same team. Like, I know you factor in the Notre Dame win at the very beginning of the year for Ohio State, but really Ohio State and Michigan could have been interchangeable at that 2 or 3 spot, but the committee consistently kept Ohio State in the 2 spot. Now, I think that means something as we get closer to Selection Sunday. I think them being at 5 and having a USC take a loss, again, we're kind of the same song, second verse here, but I think that continues to bode well for Ohio State in the grand scheme of things against the Alabama team. Really what it boils down to for me, Alabama 2 losses, I just think it's so difficult for them to leapfrog Ohio State, especially with neither of them playing in a conference title game today. So no extra data point for either one of those teams. So if Ohio State does get in, I think it's going to be a little bit dangerous for the rest of the college football landscape. I'm not saying they're going to win the national title, though there's been a lot of money coming in on the Buckeyes as of late. I'm not saying they're even going to win a game in the college football playoff, though that's very much a possibility. And I don't think you want to see them in the college football playoff if you're, insert any program here. The reason why I think Ohio State could be dangerous is it feels a lot like they had their Christmas Carol moment against Michigan. Now, if you haven't seen Christmas Carol, I'll give you a brief synopsis. Essentially, guy doesn't like Christmas, gets visited by the ghost of Christmas future, and in that moment, he comes to terms with all of his faults. He realizes what he hasn't done right and realizes he doesn't like the direction that his life or Ohio State season is going, and essentially says, I can change, snaps back to it, gets a second chance, and then goes forward to do good things. That might be Ohio State against Michigan. They looked in the mirror and they saw what it's like to miss the standard completely for the second year in a row, to not make the college football playoff for the second year in a row. And now, if they do get a second chance at this, I just wonder how they would respond to that. My feeling is there's such a fire internally in Columbus. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is tweeting out last night, "Let's ball," after seeing USC take that loss. I think there's such a fire and a breath, or a second breath rather, they didn't think they were going to get. I just think the motivation factor could be turned up several more notches. Now, again, that doesn't mean they're going to win the college football playoff, doesn't mean they're going to win a game, but I just think they're that much more dangerous because of what their circumstances now dictate to them going forward. So I'm excited to see it. One of the best quarterbacks in the country in C.J. Stroud, one of the best wide receivers in Marvin Harrison Jr., tons of offensive weapons. Maybe they get a little bit more healthy in that running back room. I'm just saying, Ohio State deserves to be in after what we saw last night, after how they've been treated by the committee all season long. I really believe they will be that fourth team on Selection Sunday, and I think they're going to be a team that you would likely not want to have drawn, if that makes sense. I'm not calling our shot, but I'm just saying Ohio State should be in the college football playoff after what happened last night. This has been The Hard Count. I'm J.D. Piquel. We appreciate you tuning into the program. Again, college football content all season long, all off season long. It's a 12-month sport for us. All right, I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. That's how we do things here. The portal, recruiting, games, all of it, we got you covered. So make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.